So I want to talk about childhood for a second.
Cool.
So I grew up in South Central LA, and at one time we were staying with my grandmother. So this is the place where everybody in the house could go. I mean, everybody in the family could go to, right? And so at one time there was up to like 14 people living in this house, a 3-bedroom house. We had 2 refrigerators in the house. And so we had my aunt and her 3 kids, they had a refrigerator, and then there was a refrigerator for the rest of the house. My aunt and her kids, they had all the name brand snacks, all the name brand cereals, everything. They had snacks galore, right? Our refrigerator sometimes just didn't have anything to grab. So there were times where I literally like snuck in the kitchen and stole food from my own house, you know? And psychologically that does something to a kid, right? You tell a story about riding a bike with your sister and your mom, and you ride the bikes to go behind a building and wait, and someone would come out and throw food into a dumpster. Your mom would give you a look and you would climb in to get the food. Can you just kind of talk about like, what does that do to a kid, and like how did that affect you?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the first times I realized that I was poor. And something in me just knew that it wasn't normal.
Yeah.
But it also made me realize that like I had a duty to my family, I had a duty to my mother, I had a duty to, you know, my little sister, being the only man of the house. And
at this point, you're how old, and how old is your sister?
I'm about 7 years old at this time.
So at 7 years old, your mentality is, I'm the man of the house.
100%.
So you didn't, like, you know, like so many of us, actually get to experience a childhood. You just had to grow up fast because you saw a need, and like you embodied, like, if not me, who else? So I have to do it. That's wild.
Yeah, it was like that where we grew up.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of single mothers. A lot of my friends were just young boys with no fathers. And so we took it upon ourselves to like become tough.
Yeah.
We took it upon ourselves to like, you know, learn to fight. We took it upon ourselves to like stand for the women in our lives.
Yeah.
And in single parent households, when the single mom is like, it's time to roll, it's time to roll. And so there was no question when my mom said, yo, we have to go behind the supermarket called Albertsons at 4:30 a.m. in the morning to, you know, get some of the day old food. There was no question about, you know, making it happen. It was like, we got to do this. And that became part of the survival mechanism. Like at a young age, we just learned to do what it needed to happen and, you know, not question it. There were times where we didn't have washer or a washer or dryer. So we would wash our clothes in the bathtub. And I remember in the middle of the winter, there would be no hot water. So we'd be washing the clothes in the bathtub in freezing cold water. And we'd be like in it, stepping on the clothes to like simulate the oscillation of the washer to clean the things and things like that. Or for example, going to the welfare spot and staying there for like 9-10 hours. And a lot of people who've been there know they don't treat you like people. But you know, like willpower and resiliency in poverty somehow always keeps the lights on and keeps food coming no matter what.
Yeah.
Or even, for example, you know, the WIC coming for my little sister, and the blocks of cheese and the meat or whatever they're feeding us showing up at the door. It was always this constant game of like having enough, keeping a roof over our head, staying warm enough, having enough clothes and things like that. Like looking back on all that, I'm so grateful that I went through all that, because it taught me to hustle. It taught me to find the blessings even in the hardest of circumstances. It taught me to like trust that even if it felt like there was no way out, there's always a way out if you look hard enough.
Yeah.
But it as a young man, as a young boy, it does definitely take its toll. And you start to develop like all types of coping mechanisms to deal with something that's inherently not natural.
Not at all. I mean, to be a 7-year-old child, to have to wake up to go get food at 4:30 in the morning, like you just didn't have the opportunity to like enjoy life at that age. You should just be having fun and carefree, but you know, you were kind of like thrust into that. So man, I commend you for like transcending all of that.